As usual, Crazy Cookie is in the basement, sounding the time to go to bed alarm. To make sure I've got this focus dry, or whatever you call it, getting me in the shot or whatever. Not a professional operation by any means. Okay, I did a 3-part, just clunky type of explanation on how to start your next ferment, and it's annoying. So this will be a longer form, 10, 15, 20 minutes, I don't know. I tend to ramble, but anyway, take a couple of whatever, chopsticks or whatever. We used to anyway, eat a lot of Asian food, so we always had chopsticks, but I seldom ever have plastic forks, but it works just fine also. Take a couple of those, so otherwise you're bound to pour this and the damn thing falls, and then you're screaming at it, or me anyway. The last time I stirred this up, I don't know what in the world I was thinking. It just gets bound up in there and clogs everything. So this is the old ferment. By old I mean it's probably, I think, 5 days. Roughly 5 days anyway. Start pouring slow, all the sesame seeds, or the sunflower seeds, get in there first, so everything doesn't get quite as clogged up quite as fast. Obviously I used the metal strainer first. Well, this is a metal one as well. I used the slotted strainer first, just to get out whatever solid mass I could. I'm guessing you can probably see in that there's quite a lot that needs to come out. So set that there, turn it over, and just let go. As long as it doesn't want to overflow on you, which that one looks like it might be getting argumentative. That's common. Learn as you go with these things. Whatever works for kitchen or setup or whatever that you've got. In this case, that's just going to go back down there. All of that will go in this container here, which I'll show at some point. Where's the normal one? Get one of these. This speeds this process up. And as I said, not professional, so I have to look at this and make sure. Oh, see, that's not even getting in the thing. Idiot. So hopefully any of that got in there, and there we go. I don't have a clue. I took this bucket, I dumped it in there. These spoons and forks, or whatever, these 2 forks at a time, they sit in there to help that not fall out. I may not have gotten any of that on camera, who knows. Take one of these spatula things and do this, helps it speed it up a little faster. Just get all that drained. Within tight. No real need to do anything with this besides get it into a container and check it again, because I have no idea yeah, I guess you can see that. Okay. There. As long as I can remember to hand that back that way. I'm going to drain off some of this liquid into there also. I don't need it all in there. So, not that anyone cares. See all this, I'm just waiting for that to drain. Get all this out of here. The mineral that you mix, at least I hope you mix, a lot of it will be at the bottom of this. So you don't want to just take this liquid and dump it into the next one, because the minerals are just going to accumulate. And you really want your chickens getting what they need. Day, week, month, whatever period of time. I am an extreme no waste person. I'm going to waste a cent of anything if I can keep from it. So for all the people out there that like the culture of waste, you don't want to watch me do anything. I could certainly never be a chef in one of those restaurants where they don't swipe the rest of the eggs out of the bowl, so they're mixing a ton more, but the people on YouTube or chefs I'm speaking of, where they just don't care that if there's a half of an egg left in a large bowl, obviously there's a tiny bit left in there, not a big deal. Just waste kills me, drives me absolutely crazy. Alright, so that's done. I washed that one out, turn it upside down in the sink, let it drain, dry, whatever, and then I leave it in there for a while, a day or so, to hopefully, you never know, but hopefully kill off anything bad, bacteria or whatever. Stir this around, it dumps a lot faster. This is one of the metal mesh types, in case I didn't get it on camera earlier. A very small amount of the soy mixture will get through this strainer. Doesn't matter, it just keeps getting rotated anyway. This liquid from the previous ferment, if it smells off at all, throw it away. Do not feed it to them. Don't use a tablespoon of it to inoculate the next batch. Seriously, chuck it, get rid of it, waste it, oh well. Dump it in your garden. It's wonderful wonderful feed for the garden, for the plants. Even if it's almost winter like it is now. This is October, I never know what date it is. I half the time I know what month it is. It's October something. So put it in the garden, it's great for that. If there's no question that it doesn't have an off smell, but I've used this is probably the 4th, maybe 5th time for the same liquid. In the summer, I'm not able to do that. Make sure that's getting that. Okay. Just don't want to screw it up again and not get something on camera. In the summer, I'm not able to do that. It just doesn't work. It will get nasty in days. I've been doing it for a while, but after doing it out back where it's really hot in the summer, even on the back porch, it's just roasting back there. Obviously, I'm not air conditioning a room that I seldom use, or live in anyway. So it would only last maybe 3 days, and even then it was at the point of, they're going to eat it now or they're not going to eat it at the 3-day mark. Usually with this, I can get between 5 and 7 days. I haven't done 7. They always eat it. I do 10 pounds at a time, so I don't know. I've not gotten to 7 days. Usually 3 to 4 days they eat it. So take these out, obviously. That's still dripping. I've got to go grab another bowl. Hopefully it doesn't fall in the meantime. I don't want to walk it through the house and drip everywhere. These were just washed, so that works. Something I'll explain about this, if this is able to be seen in camera. You want the liquid to stay in there, at least the liquid with all of the minerals and everything else, the very bottom of the batch, just so the minerals are absolutely getting to the chickens. But they don't love it with a lot of water on it. Usually they'll eat it. I mean, if you're just in a hurry and you have to run out the door and you can't spend 5 minutes draining through one of these or whatever, give it to them. As long as it's not an inch of water where they have to put the whole face in it, they'll eat it. They don't complain that much. Leave too much water in it, obviously you're going to come back and chickens are going to be yelling at you saying, why? Why can't you give us food without water in it? But as long as they can get their beak into it. But this goes into there. This is unfortunately clogged. Little ones, don't worry. So you're going to lose a little bit right there. What can you do? So about this part, this is a perfect sure when I'm holding it there that you can see it. Okay, that angle. This is a perfect texture. I love this. Just no floating water, nothing. So I'm going to take half, or some anyway, of this water, liquid, whatever you want to call it, brine. I don't really use much salt. So I'm going to dump some of this off into this one. Hopefully this is getting on camera correctly. So that's about half. This one is not bad. Neither one of these are too bad at the moment. They'll eat that just fine. Stir that up. Get that off of there. All right. Where's a wooden spoon? Children lost their wooden spoon earlier. Still can't find it. Nowhere to be found. As long as I can remember this angle. That looks like soup. They'll eat it. They won't complain too much. But if this is the dry feed that I make, the mash or whatever term you'd like to use to call it. If you put a little bit of this in there, I'm sure I probably didn't put that on camera correctly at all, but not a lot. Just, I don't know, maybe a cup, half a cup, something. Whatever works, you know, it's not a measurement thing. Stir this around until most of the soy and the powder granules in here absorb the liquid, so it's not soup, you know, it's not water floating or liquid floating on top. Likely they're going to eat it no matter what you do, but you know, as long as I don't have to put their entire face down below the water, they're probably going to eat it. Ideally, I already made one earlier. I'm going to give it to them tomorrow. This is all the leftover feed from what was in that bucket. I've got a couple more of these in the refrigerator, so I feed them for a day, and then hopefully they got fed today. This food will go in the refrigerator for late tomorrow. They usually take about 24 hours to eat the amount of food that I give them, but they're in a basement that, you know, is almost no pests. There could be a mouse, but anyway, I empty this out with hopefully 2 days of food left in it. That way the next one has 2 days to start, or, you know, by the time you feed them 3 days. Objectively, if you want incredibly happy chickens that just sprint over to you every time they see you, this is the consistency you want. Make sure I'm getting that a good close-up. When I was doing the grain grinding, I did not get a close-up at all. So I'm looking at this to make sure. But if you see this, it's not soup. It's not dry by any means, but well fermented. Very, very, very liked by the chickens. I can't even think of the word there, but they will devour this. Set this down and they just go crazy, just absolutely crazy. So that is that. That is the end result that you're looking for. And this was, if this bowl is up to this line here right now, this was nearly there to make this go from complete slop, you know, wet crap like that. I probably used half of that much of food. This was nearly full, so maybe half a bowl. It's about half now, and it wasn't all the way full. I just put some in that, so I don't know, a third of a bowl, something like that. You'll get the idea when you do it, obviously. But it really is that simple. None of this is required. I mean, if you want to just give them this liquid type, take this over there and show it again with one that has a little bit less so I can stir it easier. There's the angle, okay. I mean, even that is not bad. There's just some water in it. They'll eat that. They won't complain. You know, like I said, if their beak isn't all the way in the water where they're, you know, half drowning themselves. Just a little shake. Hopefully that was on camera. I didn't look first. And then that's it. The only thing I don't care for about this is they are getting a little bit of non-fermented food. And there's, of course, you can feed them nothing but dry food. It's not as if it hurts them. I just prefer to allow them to choose if they want wet or dry. And if they want wet, if they want fermented or non-fermented. They're pretty intuitive animals. They seem to know it, unless you pull out grapes or apples or watermelon or any fruit. If you pull out fruit, all judgment on their part goes aside. They will eat every bit of the fruit, fill up from that for an entire day, and not eat a single bit of food because, well, they're junkie addicts, whatever you want to call it. Same as us, give us a whatever it is we love, and we're probably not going to eat the meat and whatever. I will, but I certainly didn't for most of my life. But that is what you're looking for, same as the other one. It went from semi-slop to the same as that in minutes. It's really that easy. Put this in. A million hours of cleanup and I'm done with this. Okay, get this out of the way also. And get the angle figured out. Look at this and figure out if it's better to do in the sink or on the floor. I don't know. Sink might be a better angle. Let's see here. I have one of those stand things. Works quite well. All right, so this one I'm going to wash my cheap nature. I'll get the rest of that out of there first. This is the liquid from the previous ferment. Like I said, if it's in the middle of summer, you really have to smell it and be careful. I'm not saying you'll kill them, but don't do anything that's going to harm them, obviously. No one wants that. Wouldn't have animals if we wanted to harm them. However you phrase that, you would not want to harm your animals. That's the point. All right, there. I weigh out 10 pounds of food, put it on the scale. I have a big scale that I use for all sorts of other things. Weighing heavy crap, shipping things and all of that. So this, make sure it gets on camera, is a very destroyed bucket. I just haven't went out to get another one yet. That is exactly 10 pounds on the dot of chicken feed. That way I know how much mineral to mix in it, so I'm not giving them too much selenium or too little methionine or threonine or anything else. But dump a quarter or a third or whatever of that. Anyway, I don't know why I'm trying to use that. This really is the better tool. Couldn't say it's the best, but best that I have at the moment. Pick this up, drop it. You can see, I'm looking at the picture at the right good angle. Right there, some almost dry grain. You can see that at all. But right there, there's a chunk of dry. Run this around enough, you'll eventually see. The idea is to not have dry grain. So pick it up from the bottom, shake it off, turn it around. If you've ever mixed bread or, I can't think, just any flour or powder of any type in a cooking mixture, you've probably seen when you dump the flour in or whatever you're dumping into a liquid, it becomes hydrophobic on the inside. So a little bit more of this, or to make more sense of that, it forms a wet layer and then nothing gets in the middle of it. So I don't put all the dechlorinated water in at the moment, just because you end up this high, an inch from the top, and you're putting your entire hand with the handle down into the liquid mixture, the grain mixture and liquid. It's obnoxious as hell. Of course, I did that the first time, possibly even another time, I don't know. I think eventually I went and got a broom handle or something, I can't remember what it was, and had to stir it that way. It really does get heavy on the bottom. If you don't want to be this meticulous about something, oh well, no big deal. I'm just attempting to show that a good way to do it. I'm just dumping the rest of it in there. Trying not to have a half-hour video about something that's honestly very simple procedure. Alright, that bucket can get out of here. Back in there and waiting for reuse. At this point, you probably will need to put a little bit more water in this. Maybe make some pancake batter or whatever. I just don't want it all the way up to the top. This water I will fill up again and get it dechlorinating today, and 4 or 5 days later, however fast they eat this food, it will have been dechlorinated that long. Our water comes from the Radthrum. Okay, there's an example of dry. Watch. Here, I'll just see. That is completely dry in there. Utterly dry. No water at all. Completely hydrophobic. Our water source comes from the Radthrum aquifer. And I guess they don't do, in Washington and Idaho, they don't do any treatment. It's just, meaning they don't do crazy things and all that other, and they still put chlorine in it, but you about have to do that in the city water system, I imagine. As much crap as it's in there to get mold or whatever that'll kill you. And I really don't know. I'm no expert by any means about any of that, but our water has nothing but chlorine, no fluoride, no, pure garbage. Chlorine might be pure garbage. I don't know. Not here to debate that by any means. I don't know the first thing about that, really. But that really is stiff in there. You can imagine having more water in this. I hope you can imagine having more water in this and having your hand all the way below the water trying to mix. That is obnoxious to me. I hate even getting my hands in that. It's just, yeah, gets everywhere. Washes off just fine, but it's just annoying is all. At this point, we'll pour the rest of this in here. Get the handle wet so you can complain about it. I have some water left for the treat mixture. I use wheat and barley for their treats. At the moment, I have 2 great big tubs. 2 of the 24, not great big, but 2 of the 24-ounce sour cream containers full of treat mixtures, so I don't need to start that yet. Well, maybe. I suppose I could start that. It's the same process as this. I showed it in the last one if you care to see. It's even easier than this because the grain really doesn't become hydrophobic. It just dumps right in, you stir it, and you're done. I didn't save any of this for that next one, so I probably will wait. Or start a new one the next one, who knows. So, as far as, where did it go? Apple cider vinegar. I knew I was forgetting something in the preparation of this. Get out of there. Something I learned from a guy named Adrian. His channel is May's Homestead Chronicles, if I remember correctly. Yeah, May's Homestead Chronicles. He did a couple of videos. The second one for fermentation is just a bang-up job. If you want to know more than I'll ever know, talk to that guy. May's, M-A-Y-S, Homestead Chronicles. Amazingly brilliant individual. Other channels I would mention, not for for chicken feed fermentation, but for anything chicken related. Feather Brain, as far as chicken psychology and how chickens think, what they want, how to interpret their actions, all of that. It's a channel called The Feather Brain, not Feather Brain. That's some weird music thing or something. The Feather Brain. That woman is just stupendous. I swear she's a research scientist, if I remember correctly, and truly intelligent. Welcome to Chickenlandia. That lady knows all kinds of things when it comes to fixing water belly or scaled leg mites or all sorts of things. And Adrian may have some of these also. I just haven't seen his in these areas. So check all these channels out. They're really, really good. Feather Brain, For this, Adrian's channel, May's Homestead Chronicles, The Featherbrain, Welcome to Chickenlandia. There's one more I know I'm forgetting. But anyway, tablespoon or so of this. You don't have to do this. It just gives them some good enzymes. You know, it's a good thing. There's not much in that, as you can see. So Adrian uses a lot more than that. I don't know. It doesn't really matter to me. I've had great luck with using nothing, to be perfectly honest. Really good luck. It comes out smelling just like a sourdough bread. Just amazing. And I can't remember the brand that Adrian uses, but this is Baja Gold. I have another one that's Pink Himalayan. My woman uses this a lot for hydration. I use the Pink Himalayan more, but just, I don't know, that's half teaspoon or half tablespoon maybe. It slows it down some, so it will last longer. He uses a tablespoon per gallon of water, which I'm sure is fine. Especially in the heat. In the heat, I probably will go back to using maybe a teaspoon per gallon. I do mine inside, but obviously my house is hotter in the summer than it would be in the winter. So everything's according to what it is. If you're doing it outside and you live in Texas or Florida, you're probably going to want some sodium in there just to calm down any of the bad bacteria. I'm in Washington. It does get 100 degrees here, but I don't do this outside. I have a huge air conditioner, and it's in that room in there. If you can see my hand in that room where I normally do everything. So not a big deal for me. Even in the summer, my house is still 72 or something, 70 something. So my ferments don't get crazy out of hand. And I use this mineral over here I'm getting ready to show. It does have a small amount of sodium, more than likely all the sodium they need. So for me to add a lot of salt, I just don't need to. Obviously, just like humans, you don't want to oversalt something, where it's causing any toxicity. A lot of the salt probably stays in solution, in the water. Anyway, I'll move over here. Move this over here. See if I can get that framed properly. Yep, that worked. First time that worked. All right, so 10 pounds of food. This is farm stores sell this mineral. It's not farm stores, feed stores. Farm feed stores. Wherever you can buy horse, chicken, cattle, whatever feed, likely they have one of them. If you got 5 or 10 feed stores around, one of them likely has this. So it's recommended at 2.5%. So you buy a 50-pound bag, that mixes, what is that? 2,000 pounds of feed. So turn this on. I always do it this way, or try to remember to do it this way anyway, just to make sure that says something. Pull it off. You see it's 0, you're good. 0 it. 2.5% of 10 pounds is 112.8 or 9 grams. So I just do 113, or roughly that amount. Finishing beer there. Okay. I have no idea if you can actually see the numbers on that. I don't know if the camera will even pick that up. And I can't see it because the holder's behind there, but 67. 110. I always go over and have to put some back. It's really annoying. No, 113 and a half. Perfectly good enough. I would never err on the side of under. I would err on the side of slightly over, not incredibly over, because the selenium can be toxic. I mean, you go way over. If you're 10% over, unlikely to have any issue at all. Do not take my statement as gospel. It's not. Do the research yourself, obviously. Don't ever want somebody having a harmed chicken because they said, you said you could go 10% over. I'm not saying go intentionally 10% over. If you accidentally put a little too much in, it's not a big deal. You can, of course, always add more feed to it also. But, moving on. And just the same as if you're putting salt or anything else in something, and I don't know how many people out there are cooks, but you don't just dump the salt in when you've got a great big thing. I mean, I know people do, but I don't. I want to get everything properly hydrated, you know, so it doesn't just get hydrophobic sent to the bottom and then they get a big chunk of something they probably don't like the taste of. Or they don't get it at all, who knows, somehow. But simple as that. Are you purring over there, Chocolate? Cute little chicken. The little ones are in my kitchen still. But that's it. I know I'm forgetting something here, but that really is the extent of it. Then if you're out of feed, let this sit overnight. Give it to them immediately if you like. I mean, it's no different than the dry feed you just put in there, obviously. Just mixed with some extra microbes that will be good for them. I try to keep a day or two extra of food, so you know this can sit for at least a day or at least overnight, but it's not harmful, obviously, either way. Really a good idea to stir this several times. I get sometimes I only get it stirred one time this time, and then the next morning come down and stir it. But this crap floats. It's a lot that floats. And the water level is probably this deep. I don't know if you can see that or not. Yeah, okay, I can see my hand. Half of this is food. The other half is water. So all that crap is floating. Every bit of this, meaning that the food is way down there. This is just crap that's floating. So stirring this is a good thing. It won't mold as easily or as quickly. You'd be hard pressed to get this to mold unless you didn't stir it for, days. Obviously, you're going to be feeding it to them, so it's hard to not stir it for days if you're feeding it to them. If it did mold, I wouldn't say you'd have to throw every bit of it away. You'd want to skim all of this carefully off the top, but when in doubt, chuck it. And if you're poor and you truly can't afford more feed, I get it. You just skim the top off. Don't give them the mold, seriously. Intuitive or not, they might eat some of it, and who knows, it causes mycotoxins, I guess. But anyway, stir this a couple of times. My neighbor was very concerned that he would have it mold on him, so he was stirring it probably every hour or two. And he never even saw a cap, which is my next subject. It'll get an inch or two cap at the top where whatever floats gets up there. And that's fine. If you don't stir it for 12 hours, 20 hours, the next day, whatever, you'll reach in here and it'll be a huge, not like this. I mean, it'll be a thick cap. Not with mold on it, just a huge thick cap. After you stir it the next time, a lot of these seeds will stop floating. If you're really concerned about it in a really hot area, you didn't use salt, nothing to starve out the bad bacteria, just skim this off the top, give them a big scoop of this with however much of the, bottom fermented, and that's fine. They're going to eat all this in a week anyway. If they get mostly this one day and then mostly that the next, it's just like us. If we don't get all our vitamins in one day, we're not dying from it. We'll eat the vitamins the next day. It reminds me I didn't take vitamins today. Or maybe I did. I don't remember. Man. Got to remember these things. Doing high dose vitamin D truly seems to be helping. But that is the extent of it. I'm sure I'm forgetting something. If I remember it before I do the rest of this or put this on the internet, I will make a second one and patch it together. I am sorry about the banging. I am just learning editing, so by no means good at it. So I think that's it. I can't think of anything else. Take this off of here. Oh, that's 34 minutes. My God. I honestly thought it would be 15. Like I said, I tend to ramble. Little ones. Chocolate. Cute little one. What are you doing? They get nuts sometimes. Favreau, you are a crazy chicken. Crazy chicken. Can't really see it there. Crazy chicken. Oh, the sweetest little chicken. And Chocolate, really nice one. Until they get puberty, Miss America, who doesn't like me. Chocolate, you're jumping up here to say hello. Good chicken. No, she just wants out to fly all over my kitchen cabinets again. Crazy chicken. Crazy chicken. Yes, yes, I know you want out. Good chicken. All right. I'm going to zip you back up, chicken. Sorry. Not getting out at the moment. Or not. Yeah, evidently. I forgot to make myself look, well, not going to be presentable no matter what, but anyway, that is plenty. I remember what I was going to talk about. Yeah, let me make an hour-long video nobody cares about. I was doing research about why my chickens don't seem to be eating as much as I thought they would. They have all the dry feed they want. They have these buckets. Why am I aiming that at that? They have ports. I'm going to find these things. They have ports where I cut the thing in the bottom of the bucket and put the port in. Absolutely unimportant, but these things, if you can see that at all. You just put it in the bottom of the bucket, and so they have as much dry food as they want. It's always at least a half full couple of buckets, 2 5-gallon buckets. I almost never have to fill them. A lot of it's just one's commercial, one's mine, the food that I make, and they're not eating that much. I couldn't figure it out. When I first started giving them the fermented, they would just tear it up like crazy. They still appear to, meaning they're happy about it. They run right over to it and eat it like crazy, just as if they haven't been fed in 24 hours, and they still have 2 other bowls of food out there that still have some in them, but they run over the new one and destroy it as if they're starving. But I was thinking about it, and I'm only putting 10 pounds of food in that bucket. That's it. That's all a bucket fits for the most part. And I want to say they're taking roughly 4 days to eat that. That's 2.5 pounds of food, besides whatever they're eating that's dry, and bugs, grass, God knows what they're eating outside. But 2.5 pounds, roughly. It could be 3.5, 3 1/3, whatever. Sometimes it is 3 days they get it through it. Sometimes it's 4. Could even be 5 certain days. I don't know. I didn't pay that much attention. But they're not going through 23 layers, or almost. 12 of them are laying, certainly, because they're pushing 6 months old, I think. And I usually get 12 eggs a day, so at least 12 chickens have to be laying if you're getting 12 eggs a day. They're not making more than 1 a day. Some of the little ones are probably laying, the green starlight green eggers, dyslexic as hell. But 23 chickens, some of them 18 to 20 weeks, and some of them 6 months or so. So a few of them laying out of the 11 that are the newer batch, and all 12 of the other ones laying. And they're eating 2.5 pounds of food a day. I keep doing research, and evidently, some of them being smaller matters, I imagine. And Cookie, nutbag, Cookie hadn't been eating much. I have to get Cookie in here to get the chicken to eat. But anyway, evidently this saves feed to some extent. It's more bioavailable. They get more nutrition from it. I'm not in any way claiming save half of your food bill. That is not the case. But they do seem to eat a lot less of this. A pound of this versus a pound of commercial. There's a lot less, making me look cross-eyed there, a lot less usage of this than there is the commercial. And that's the only thing I can come up with is it's more bioavailable. I don't know. They all lay. They're all happy and energetic, and unless they have a major growth spurt, they don't feel thin to me. The layers are chunky chickens. One of the leghorns is smaller than all the rest, and that one's a small one, but they always have a big crop, so I know they're eating. But that was the only other thing about the fermented side of things is if you ferment all their food, give them a bucket of dry, but give them the choice, of course, along with grit and calcium and everything else. But they seem to eat less of it, and they're happy. They're always going back to that food bowl and just tearing it up. But the pounds don't add up for the math of a quarter of a pound of food per chicken per day. That's whatever that is, 6.5 pounds. That would be a day and a half, or a day and 2/3. Every other day I would be making a new ferment. Most of the time I'm not making a ferment more than every 4th day. That's just strange. I don't know. They must eat a lot less fermented food when they eat it. But like I said, they're happy, they're active, and they're all laying, so I don't know. It's a complete feed. Oh, I can state the recipe on this again. 50 pounds of corn, 25 pounds of soy, 10 pounds of oats, 10 pounds of peas, 5 pounds of flax/camelina, it's a 50-50 blend, 5 pounds of alfalfa, and 5 pounds of sunflower seeds, and then 2.75 pounds of the poultry premix. You can get that from, I meant to say this earlier, you can get that from Azure Standard. If you can't find any farm stores, Azure Standard will almost always ship somewhere within reasonable space to you. And if you don't have 27 chickens, I've got little ones, but eventually I'll have 27 layers. I have 23 at the moment. If you don't have 20 or 30 chickens, a bag of that mineral will last a long time. I just vacuum lock it, the vacuum lock bags, like that. How do you see that? Anyway, I rambled long enough. That's over 40 minutes. So, hope this helps somebody, and excuse the rambling. Not much I can do about that. See y'all later. I made the ferment video earlier. I've been working ever since. I'm tired. I knew there was one thing I did not, I forgot something in it. Anti-nutritional factors. I started to talk about this and somehow got sidetracked. God only knows I ramble so much. Fermentation takes away the anti-nutritional factors in peas almost entirely, or entirely, one of the two. And soy meal makes the anti-nutritional factors almost non-detectable. I looked it up to make sure. I can never remember all the specifics. I'm somewhat new to this, but trypsin inhibitors, it ties up protein, gives a lack of protein absorption. I remember that one. Phytic acid ties up calcium and all that, binds to elements, minerals, and inhibits absorption. Tannins I don't care about. And then that was, they're both pretty much the same. I'm just looking at the things here. Trypsin inhibitors, phytate, that does the same thing. Phosphorus, trace minerals it binds to. Oligo or oligosaccharides, mess with microbiome by fermentation. It actually causes fermentation in the intestine, it screws up the microbiome. All the rest of it's just, technical crap here. But the idea behind it, I use 10% peas. They're great for protein, lots of nutrition, but they have anti-nutritional factors. There was another one in here somewhere. What is it? Trypsin, phytic acid, tannin. There was one more that I remember thinking. I know what it is. I just can't think. Lectins. That's it. Lectins. That can be a problem. And fermentation makes almost all of that, if not all of it, null and void. So if you use a fair amount of soy like I do, 25%, it'd be about 22% soy, and I guess it'd be about 9.5% peas. But if you do that, any of the concerns you have with that are negated by fermentation, or almost 100% negated, 90, 95% negated. I see a lot of chicken feeds on the market, farm-made types, that when being I did a lot of research for the recipe for this. I mean, a lot. An hour a day, I can usually figure out most things in an hour or two of my life. I'm good at investigation. I'm good at research. I know how to ask. I'm so tired. I know how to ask questions. So I'm the guy that gets to the bottom of something and figures it out. You give me a task and I go head at it, and I'm the figure out why this is. That's me. I will figure out why. And this recipe, I mean, I bet every bit of a month, or at least 3 weeks or a month. I don't know. I may not have done it every single day. I may have got sidetracked, but I don't know. I don't know how many hours, but a lot of hours trying to figure this recipe out. And a fair amount of it was anti-nutritional factors. I didn't, when it came to tannins, and I didn't really look up tannins, but when it came to every individual nutritional factor, I didn't research every single one individually, because the research led to fermentation negating them. But I got off track again. A lot of the feeds I see that are farm made, they advertise corn and soy free, and I always wonder why. If you're not using GMO corn, who cares? I don't know the problem with corn. I've researched it. I cannot figure out why people hate corn. Soy, I get. Estrogen and anti-nutritional factors. I get that. Not being heated and toasted well enough, you get all kinds of problems with that. And of course, estrogen. None of us want estrogen in the eggs, or at least as a male. I don't want estrogen. I've got enough, mental problems and mood swings, and just the hell I deal with in my life. I don't need more estrogen. I eat enough dairy. I'm sure I get plenty of estrogen. It's any estrogen is bad for me, obviously. But the point being, I ask all these farm places. I call or message or whatever available amount of or form of communication, and ask what percentage of peas they're using, what percentage of camelina, and some of them are using incredible amounts, incredible percentage of peas. My finding, you shouldn't go over 10% of peas, just because of anti-nutritional factors. If you're going to ferment it, and at least a 48, if not 72-hour ferment before you start feeding, I suppose you could use any amount of peas you want. I don't know. And you sprout them, soak them in water. I don't know. But that was what I forgot to put in the video. This will be at the end of the video. I'm just gonna use that CapCut, whatever it's called. I think it's CapCut editor thing, and it's easy. It just throws them together. So anyway, excuse the rambling again, but it's my nature. If I think of something else, I'll stick at the end of it again. But this is hopefully the last part. I'm just reading that thing. Kids put that up there. But anyway, see y'all later. I'm going to eat and go to bed.